So welcome to this webinar on studying the natural sciences in the United Kingdom, Wales specifically. I'm Maggie Parke. I'm from Study in Wales. If you've come to these before, we are old friends. If this is your first one, welcome. We appreciate you coming around. This will be up on YouTube afterwards as well. So if you want to come back and visit this, it will be there for perpetuity for you to take a look at. I'm joined today by Peter Sharp from Bangor University. So Peter, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hello. Thank you very much for coming today, and thank you, Maggie, for inviting me. My name is Peter. I am Bangor University's regional manager for the Americas. So I pretty much do everything with the student journey in coming to Bangor. So I'm here to talk a bit about natural sciences and a bit about Bangor, but everything that Maggie wants me to do, I will do.
I will keep that in mind. Each campus in Wales, we have 8 universities, and each university has a US champion. So you'll notice on this web series, I'm joined by different champions for different presentations. So basically that means you've got somebody as a point of contact at each campus that can help with your application, can answer any questions, can look at your transcript and tell you, yes, we would accept you, no, you're missing XYZ. So Peter is that person for Bangor University. And I actually went to Bangor University, so this is going to be a slightly Bangor heavy one, but we'll try to keep it Wales wide. I'm going to share my screen so you can look at some beautiful pictures and not just this mug. And we're going to talk a little bit about studying natural sciences in the UK. We're going to try to keep it really broad and really basic. We don't want to overwhelm you with details and all the minutiae. It's really just efficient, to the point overview. And then if you have a student, or if you are a student, you're interested in this and you have more questions, just reach out to us. My contact details are in the chat below the YouTube video if you're watching this on YouTube. And we've got a slide at the end of the presentation with all of our contact details on it. So I'll make sure that I keep that up for a little bit. But we're going to start with just some general info about Wales. So this is where we are. We're in the UK, in Great Britain. Think of it like a state. 4 states make up the United Kingdom: Wales, Scotland, Northern Ireland, and England. So Wales is there in the red. We do have our own government. We have our own culture and kind of feel to the place. We do speak Welsh as well as English. Don't worry, you don't need to know Welsh. Everything is taught in English. All of our signs are in English and Welsh. Everybody that speaks Welsh speaks English. It's just there. It's this living, thriving Celtic language that I'd found absolutely fascinating when I first came here. And I did take Welsh for 2 years. I'm not fluent, but have enough to, order a pint and get a bus ticket. But it's lovely to be surrounded by that kind of living Celtic culture. Location wise, it's really well connected. I live up in North Wales in quite a remote area, as does Peter, and it looks like it's far away from everything, but I teach in London every Monday during normal times. There's a bunch of direct trains a day. It takes me 3 hours to get down there. I teach for a few hours. I hang out for office hours. I usually meet up with a friend for a meal, and then I come back, and I do that in a day. But where I live is about, I don't know, 70% cheaper than living in London. Wales in general is sometimes around 40% cheaper than living in London. So it's quite nice to be where I am, looking at the ocean and the mountains, but able to access the big cities when I want to. Manchester is about an hour and a half away. Edinburgh is about 4 hours on the train. Dublin is an hour and a half on the ferry. Getting back to the US, quite straightforward. There are direct flights to the East Coast. It's about 7 hours, and to the West Coast, it's about 10 hours. Which sounds like a lot, but I used to drive 6 hours from Pennsylvania to Virginia for school, and now I fly 7, and you just kind of get used to it. So yes, there's a general overview about where we are. We do have a mix of city and country, so I'll show you a bit of both. This is Cardiff, our capital city. Super metropolitan space. It's the seat of the Welsh government, has Principality Rugby Stadium. It has the National Theatre. It has BBC Studios, beautiful waterfront, shops, cafes, clubs, movie theaters, all that stuff that you would expect from a capital city, but it's quite small and it's very safe and affordable. You can walk across it in about 45 minutes, and 3 of our universities are located here. But we also have a lot of things that look like this. So we have more castles per square mile than anywhere in Europe. We have 4 castles within 20 minutes of me, where I am right now. This is one of them. And this is often used as a teaching space. So if you're studying archaeology or history or something like that, often you could have a class in a castle. I did not have a class in a castle, sadly, but I would often take my books to the castles and just do some reading, because why not? Look at it. So it's fun to have this on your doorstep as well. We also have 3 national parks that make up a quarter of the country. So that's probably what Wales is often referred to the most for, is the natural beauty. So within 20, 30 minutes of any of our campuses, you could be in something that looks like this. Even the ones in central Cardiff, it's not that far from the Brecon Beacons. So you have these stunning vistas and opportunities to be outside and play in nature. And we also have this national coastline, 870 miles of coastline that is open to walkers. So a lot of our students will do that on their breaks and just see how much of it they can cover and try to cover it over the course of their degree or something like that. This image is actually close to where Peter and I are up in North Wales on the Isle of Anglesey. Beautiful Newborough.
So nice.
It is. It's the best beach around, I think. Okay, this is probably the most useful slide in terms of like general info. So I came here myself. I'm from Pennsylvania originally, but came to Wales to study for my master's and my PhD, and 16 years on, I'm still here. I came completely for location because, you know, as I mentioned, it's gorgeous. I stayed for academics and cost. Basically, a degree from Wales equal to a US degree. Everything transfers back. The only things you have to be careful about are certifications. So it's the same as if you got a teaching certificate in Oregon and wanted to move to California. You just have to make sure that that degree will, that certification will transfer. Sometimes it does. Sometimes you have to resit an exam. Sometimes you have to go back to school for 2 years. So it's good to know that before you enroll in the degree, but the actual degree will transfer back no problem. So if you're doing, you know, a bachelor's in history or business or whatever, totally equal to a US degree. The difference is it's done in 3 years and our masters are done in 1 year. So a lot of our American students do plan on coming to us for 4 years, but in 4 years they have a master's, whereas in the US that takes 6 or 7 years to complete. It's shorter because it's much more focused. You do need to know what you want to study and you do list that on your application. So you are applying to a specific program. So you can't come in undecided, which is a little bit tricky, but if you know what you want to study, fantastic. You don't have to know what you want to do with your life. We'll help you figure out the employability and jobs and things like that, but you do need to know what you want to study. So because of that, you're just studying natural sciences. So say you're doing ocean sciences, you don't have a French requirement, you don't have a gym requirement, you don't have a creative writing requirement, it's just ocean sciences. It will be very broad within that. Your first year super broad, then you focus as you go on. And you can still take other courses for fun. So you can pick up a language, you can sit in on other courses just because it makes you know happy to keep studying music. Excuse me, but that tends to be really informal and just a conversation with the professor for that course if you're able to sit in on that. So you can continue those interests, but your degree is your degree. So because of that, it's done in a year shorter and it's much more focused. Cost is the main reason I stuck around. The schools I looked at in the US were $48,000 and $52,000 a year. The school I ended up at, banger, was $14,000 a year. And after scholarships, it was $7,000 a year. And for that, we're a FAFSA school. A number of the Welsh institutions are FAFSA schools. So I filled out the FAFSA and got US federal loans to pay for my degree overseas. I also got a part-time job working at a movie theater. I became an RA, so I lived in the halls for free. Lots of ways around this, but I did end up in debt, don't get me wrong, but I was in debt about $30,000 at the end of a PhD. And that was okay with me. And I got to live in Narnia. So it was pretty great. So those are just good things to know. A bunch of our campuses are also GI Bill that's available for students. It's also free to apply if you apply directly to a university, or it's very affordable if you go through UCAS, which is like the European version of the Common App. There aren't really any deadlines. We tend to say January 15th because that is UCAS's general deadline. So aim for January 15th. But if you are a senior, if you have seniors that are still looking for options, we accept until June 30th. And then some campuses will even accept after that if there's spaces on the course. So it's good, it's worth having that conversation with the US champion to see where you can fall, if they encourage you to continue applying, things like that. Because if there's space on the course, we'll be very transparent and open with you and say, yep, get your application in, sounds good. But you do have until June 30th for general consideration. So good to be aware of that. Entry requirements, I'm just going to touch on briefly. It has changed a bit as well. We are completely test flexible. So if you have not sat the SAT or the ACT or any of your AP exams, don't panic. If you have, we would like to see them. But if you haven't, just reach out to that country manager at the campus and ask what they're looking for specifically, because they will totally help you. And again, be very transparent about where you stand in that application process. The main thing we're looking at is the GPA and what level of course you're taking. And we're going to be looking at the courses that relate to what you want to study with us. So we want to see AP, IB, honors level courses, and A's and B's in that subject area. If you failed creative writing, but you want to study ocean sciences, I'm not that concerned. We would look through your transcript and make sure that the courses that reflect what you want to do at university are strong. So we could look around a slightly lower GPA if your subject-specific GPA is really strong. I hope that makes sense. Give me a shout if you're confused by that. We would also be looking for some higher level options if you've taken a college or a community college class, if you've taken AP level classes, any of the AP exams, that kind of thing, just to show that expertise and that higher level of education in that subject area. Okay, you do also have the option for deferment, that's there, but just kind of running through that. Two other things that are slightly different: letter of recommendation. We only require one, and it needs to be from a teacher in that subject. If you know somebody else better, they can always submit directly to the university. So maybe you know your English professor better and they can speak to your character and things like that. They can always email that reference directly to the university. But your one UCAS reference or your one direct application reference needs to be from an academic in that field. So they can speak to your ability and say, yes, they'll be successful in this area. It's great if you were president of that club and did a boatload of volunteer activities and things like that, but we really need to see that you're capable in the academic area. The other thing that's different is the personal statement. It's much more like a cover letter to a job application. It's not like the US one. You're not writing about summer camp or horseback riding or your mom, you know, it's very much about, why do you want to study this? What preparation have you done? Have you been reading journal articles? Did you do any work shadowing? Anything to prepare for this and to show us that you know what you're getting into, and tell us a bit about why you got interested into it and what preparation you've done. So that's really what we're looking for. There's loads of YouTube videos about this and guides and stuff. So again, if you have questions, you can always reach out to your country manager, but just know that it's a bit different and do a little bit of research before you start writing it. I'll just fly through these and show you some pretty pictures. A lot of our buildings look like Hogwarts, pretty great. We have excellent student support. We pick you up at the airport, we bring you back to the dorms. We run classes on how to open a bank account, how to get a job, how to get a doctor's appointment, all that living abroad stuff, so you don't have to stress about it. The only thing you should worry about now is if you like the location and if you like the program. If you do, apply. It's cheap or free. You'll know in a couple weeks if you've been accepted. If you're not accepted, they'll be able to tell you why, and you might be able to fix it. You never know. And then once you're accepted, we'll help you with everything else. So we'll help you with the accommodation registration, the airport transfers, the visa process. Like, don't worry about that detail. So just focus in on program and location. I think this is my last one. So, and also here for accommodation. Most of our campuses, it's guaranteed accommodation for first year students. If it's not, then they would work with a company to help you find campus accommodation. It might not be on campus, it might be just off campus, but it would be a company that's like a private company that could just help students find places to live. But most of our campuses are like this. It is like US style dorms. You get your own room, we don't share, and your own bathroom, we don't share. Occasionally you'll have a few shared bathroom halls, but those are pretty rare these days. They tend to be older. But yeah, most of them are like this. You have your own room and your own bathroom, and then you share a kitchen with 7 or 8 other people. On campus, you'll have bike sheds like this, picnic tables, barbecues, a shop, a cafe, a mailroom, 24-hour security. It's just lovely. I lived in these for 4 years, so it's a nice place to be, and good to know that you have that kind of student life and campus village feeling when you come to campus. All right, I'm going to stop talking now, so I'm going to turn it over to Peter. Your turn.
My turn. Yay. So I'm going to sort of talk a bit about natural sciences in Wales. I'll keep it very broad about the Welsh universities. I will talk in some specifics about Bangor, because obviously I'm from Bangor, so I know much more about Bangor than I do than the specifics of the other Welsh universities. But I think when you're looking at natural sciences, this picture really does kind of sum things up of why Wales is an amazing destination for natural sciences. I mean, if you're wanting to study the natural world, yeah, where better than a place where the natural world is all around you and is just amazing. I mean, you can go on a field trip that's 5 minutes away from your sort of front door, as it were. So no getting on buses and traveling for hours and hours and hours. It's there. You're living in it. You're breathing in it. And that's why we have so many amazing experts here in Wales able to teach the natural sciences. So your standard bachelor's degree in natural sciences will take 3 years, and a master's degree will take 1 year. Now, keep a lookout when you're talking to the universities if they do an integrated master's option, because that's something that's really exciting that more Welsh universities are doing, because that would allow you to do the bachelor's and the master's in the 4-year period. But you've got the flexibility in some cases to stop after 3 years and just get the bachelor's. So it saves having to apply again and also locks in the price point. So it's becoming a really popular choice. So yeah, if in doubt, ask about an integrated master's if you think there's just a 1% chance of doing a master's. Now, what you'll find when you look at course structure is the first year will be quite broad, give you gentle introductions to different parts of the natural sciences, the course that you're looking at. And then over the years, you'll start focusing down into the areas that interest you. So what you'll find when you look at the module selection, it'll be very broad in that first year, but then when you look at years 2 and 3, there'll be a massive choice, but you'll start having to focus down on the areas that you want to look at. And I think that's really cool because it does allow you to specialize. And when you're looking at this sort of 3 years or 4 years, if you're going to do the masters as well, look at the options that we have for years in industry or study abroad, because all the Welsh universities have got fantastic study abroad opportunities, and some of us do offer placements in industry. So it's a great way to get some hands-on experience with the year in industry or to get some amazing experience in another country overseas. Now, in your third and final year, you're going to be doing your thesis or dissertation. That's an opportunity to do some independent research on the subject that you want to do with the support of the university and your sort of supervisor and assigned tutor. And it's a great way as well to kind of suss out, do you want to go and do a master's? Do you want to go on and continue to do a PhD? And having the research facilities that universities in Wales have is great because it allows you to speak to people who are doing this research all day, every day. So natural sciences in Wales, tons for you to see, tons for you to do. It's just a phenomenal place to really come to study.
The only thing I would add there is the internships and work placements, because we get asked that a lot. They're all paid. I think that's important to know because it's not always the case in the US, is it? Over here, if you are doing an internship on campus or off campus in industry, however it is, they are paid opportunities within a company. And often if you're doing the year placement, those companies will often look to hire you after you finish your degree. So it's very much a pathway. And if it's not hire you, it's absolutely excellent on your CV to have that year in industry. And you'll find that most of those students, when they come back, because usually you do that after your second year. Sorry, my dog. After your second year, when you come back for your third year, those are the students that excel. They understand how they fit into the industry and they're real good at what they do, and their GPAs just skyrocket. So their third year ends up being very strong and setting them up for either employability or a master's beyond that.
So when we're looking at some of the possible courses, you can look at loads, from ocean sciences, environmental sciences. Some of the Welsh universities even tie in an MBA with sort of conservation environmental studies. So if you're interested in 2 different strands, there's some really interesting options. Forestry, I mean, come on, we've got some amazing forests around us. Foresters love to be around trees, so you've got to come study forestry in Wales.
And Bangor was one of the first in the world, wasn't it, for forestry?
I think so. We have a wood library, which is really cool as well. And the natural science, one of the natural sciences building, you walk in and there's loads of different panels of different types of woods. I mean, I don't know much about trees, but that's really cool. We also got lots of medical science facilities up here as well. And then sports science, athletic sciences as well. And if you're into extreme sports, maybe mountain running or something like that, well, if you want to do sports science, where better to come than Wales? We've got mountains literally 30 minutes away. So just touching on some specifics at Bangor within our natural science school. Specific courses, touch on biology. So we've got the School of Biology, School of Environmental Science, School of Conservation, Forestry, Geography, Geology, Marine Biology, Ocean Sciences, and Zoology. And the really cool thing is that, with some of these subjects, you can kind of mix them up. So we do have different course options, such as Zoology with Marine Biology. So if you're not quite sure which direction you want to go in, or you love Zoology, but you also love Marine Biology and you want to do a bit of both, then those options are there as well. But then there's also some really interesting ones, such as zoology with animal behavior. So if you really want to get into the specifics now and you're really clear on the direction you want to go in the future, there's some exciting course options at the Welsh universities. And on the next slide, we've got a bit of a video about Bangor, just because it's much more interesting watching a video than hearing me.
Ocean sciences is the study of the marine environment. It ranges from more physical sciences like geological oceanography to the more biological side, which can include things like zoology. In the first year, we all study together, get everyone up to speed, and then in the second year, you diverge into your separate groups to study more particular to your degree title, and then in the third year, even more. What I love about studying ocean sciences is there's a really, really diverse habitat on our doorstep. In Bangor, we have something called the Menai Strait, which is a strip of ocean between Bangor and the Isle of Anglesey. I was really surprised by how much was in there. But not only do we get to study that habitat, I've also been learning about Antarctica and tropical coral reefs, which are really cool. In Bangor, we've got a wide range of facilities, from the large seagoing vessel, the Prince Madoc, which all ocean science students will get to go on at least once. I've been on to collect both physical and biological data in the past. We've also got a few aquaria and algae labs, and on the physical side, we've got tidal flow labs, which are really cool to look at as well. It's really cool being taught by lecturers who are doing active research, because they get to tell you in detail about current and relevant research projects which they've been working on. No one's going to be able to give you that level of detail like someone who actually wrote the paper itself. Bangor University campus is really small, which results in a really close community feel. You can't leave the house without seeing someone you know, and I know when I came to university it was really reassuring to be around so many people that I know. All students at Bangor University get the opportunity to study abroad through the university and gain international experience, but marine biology students also get the opportunity to study at Virginia Marine Institute. Studying the organisms out there gets to broaden the understanding from those organisms found native to North Wales to an international level. There's loads of opportunities for ocean science students after they graduate, whether they're working in habitat modelling, fisheries management, or planning permission for coastal and marine structures. I personally, after I graduate, would like to study a PhD. Through Bangor University's internship scheme, I did an internship last summer and did some research that's hopefully going to get published. This really, really inspired me and motivated me to carry on working in research. My advice for students wanting to study ocean science at Bangor University is to bring some waterproofs and some walking boots. We do a lot of field work around the mountains and the coast of North Wales and Anglesey. These places are really fun to explore in your own time as well.
Well, thank you for that. Now, one final thing from me when I'm talking about ocean sciences, it's on the next slide. So my top tip for you, when you're looking at natural sciences or anything at all, go onto the Welsh University's website, look at the course details. You'll find out loads and loads of information. Look at the modules that you're going to be studying. It's a great way to get an in-depth understanding and to really see what Wales has to offer and to see if Wales could be the place for you to come and study. So thank you for listening to me and for taking the time to hear about natural sciences in Wales. If you're interested in Bangor, drop me a line. I'd be more than happy to help, and definitely drop everyone else a line, because we're all here. We're all here to help, and we love talking to you.
Excellent, thanks. Yeah, it's so true, and it made me so happy to watch that video, because obviously I live in Bangor too, so it's just a beautiful place and a lovely place to study, and I recognize quite a few of those students. I did just want to touch on a couple things. You had mentioned what we call joint honors, what the US would call a major and a minor. So we do have that opportunity, but you'll find they're a little bit different than in the US, that you can't combine anything you want. They're pre-approved combinations. So for us, you could do ocean sciences and zoology. And it would be 60% of your courses in one subject and 40% in the other, or 50-50, but you can't do like ocean sciences and music, you know, so it would have to be kind of a pre-approved combination of how to do that. I also just wanted to mention natural sciences. If you are familiar with our YouTube playlist, there's an episode for Bangor University where they speak to, what's Christian's surname? I'm blanking.
Christian Dunn.
He's there speaking about his work in natural sciences, and it's fascinating. Excuse me.
Yeah.
He works with microplastics, and just hearing about the classes that go out into the field and collect this data and where they found microplastics, like the summit of Everest, you know, like up in the Himalayas. Just really incredible, the work that is happening and what the students get to benefit from being directly next to that research. So do check out that episode as well. A vocab element modules is classes, so just be aware of that. So definitely what Peter said, go to the website and take a look at the classes that are offered in each of these courses. Courses are majors, modules are classes. So if you click on the major, the course, it will show you a list of what you would take for years 1, 2, and 3. And it just gives you a really clear idea of what that is offering. And if your student, or you, if you're the prospective student, looks at that and goes, ooh, then you've got something. And then the last thing, I just got really excited about VIMS. VIMS is the Virginia Institute of Marine Science that was mentioned in that video. That's part of the College of William and Mary in Virginia. So you can see we have quite a few partnerships at our Welsh universities to other universities around the world. And William and Mary is a well-established one in ocean sciences, and Bangor was one of their first partners, I believe in the 70s that started. And I actually got to go to VIMS a few years ago. It was fascinating. So they have this wonderful exchange where Welsh students will go over to Virginia and study using those labs and compare the coastal regions. And then those students from Virginia will come to Wales and do the same. So it's an excellent exchange of information. Right, I will pause there. Thank you so much for coming along. I hope this was helpful. I hope it sparked some interest and hopefully some questions as well, which we'll be happy to answer. Like I said, my details are in the box below the YouTube video if you're watching this later. And if you have any questions, please do get in touch with any of our US champions there, and we'll be happy to help however we can. But thanks for coming along, and au revoir.
All right.